Okay, let me see, what have I got for you today? Well, apart from it being a whopping 33 degrees Celsius in here, it's very, very hot. Too hot, in fact, for the Streptocarpus, as you'll see. But you're going to have a look at the Mandevilla. We're going to take a look at some Cyclamen and some that are refusing to go dormant and talk about why. We're also going to take a look at a Hibiscus. We'll do a quick tour of Nepenthes and what's going on there. We've got some new Pelargoniums, some new ones in bloom. We've also got some new Orchids in bloom, a couple of Begonias, and a few other things to discuss, especially considering the upcoming winter, which will, I know it's a few months off yet, but which will no doubt have a huge effect, as it always does every year, on the greenhouse and what I'm intending to do about it this year. And right at the end, I will tell you what's going to happen to the hothouse because, well, here's a little hint, things are changing big style. Okay, let's get started. And we are in. So I just want to briefly talk about what's going on with the greenhouse at the moment, and I mean brief before I show you the Mandevilla. So you can see we have a piece of fleece covering the front door there. That is the only ventilation I'm giving it this year, and all the rest of the vents and the louvre windows are all closed, and I have lots of shading on outside. Now the reason for that is, as some of you might know, last year I intended on properly insulating this, completely kitting it out in like wooden plinths and then using that wooden framework to attach some proper real foam insulation. And I've got the insulation and it was all ready to go last year, and I ended up in hospital, so that kind of died a death for 2022. So my plan now is to do that in the autumn this year, and in preparation for that I thought, well, let's see what happens if I do actually enclose the whole building and see what the temperatures are. Now, as you've probably heard already, the temperatures they're too high. They're getting way too high in here. I keep adding more and more shading on, and I think I still need more shading. I don't think it's going to be too long before the sun starts dipping again, and it will reduce in intensity on the greenhouse, but at the moment it can get up to 40 degrees in here, and I don't know whether I'm actually going to be able to continue this video for a great length of time, which is probably a good thing. So anyway, that's the reason why I am actually closing off most of the greenhouse, just to see what will happen. Obviously when I get the foam on, it will completely and utterly shut out all the light. Now I can always buy more grow lights, but I was just wondering how much of that sun will go through. And I mean, I won't be able to tell that obviously until I've actually installed it. I've bought the stuff, I'm going to do it. Let's see what happens. There's nothing lost, is there? You know, God loves a trier. Okay, so I thought we would have a look at the Mandevilla, which is something we haven't looked at for a while because it hasn't been in bloom, and I cut it right back. If you remember, it was completely covering all this area, and I think I just needed a cut back. You know, these things get to the point where they're just so big that I thought, well, I don't really want it to go 7 or 8 meters like they can do in nature. I want to like restart it, if you like. So that's what I've done, and I'm happy to say it is now back in bloom, and I really have missed these wonderful deep red velvety blooms. It's great to see them back again, and you might be able to spot that it is going all over the place. It's spreading as it always does. I've not had to do anything with the pot when I feed it. I've not changed the pot, and it will spread over here, but there's not much room over here because we have the huge Impatiens, as I'm now calling them, not Impatiens, huge Impatiens. We've got a huge one there. It's probably about 2 foot tall, maybe even 3 feet tall. That one's about 2 foot tall. Still looking nice, still looking in full bloom. You know, they're more unusual than anything. They're not absolutely spectacular flowers, but I still quite like them. This one, in fact, is really more of a bog plant, and these temperatures are not doing it any good. It will wilt, you know, unless I come in the morning and absolutely fill that with water and make sure there's a reservoir underneath. It will completely wilt and flop over, like almost horizontal, and then when I wash it again, by the time I come back the following morning, it's back up erect again. Can I say that? So that's what's going on with that. There's another Mandevilla. You've not actually seen this one in bloom, so this is its first blooming for me. I bought this midsummer last year. So this is just a slightly different colour with a nice yellow in the middle. This one is actually called Rosea, Sanderi Rosea, and it's it's nice to see it coming out in bloom. In the past, when I've tried to get Mandevillas which aren't that hardy, because some of the different hybrids have different characteristics, this one seems to be quite hardy. It totally coped through the winter despite it only being a small plant, and it's come back now and it's looking really nice. And as always with these differing conditions, you get winners and losers, don't you? These particular plants love the heat and they love what's going on in here at the moment. So they're the two Mandevilla that I mentioned. Let's move on. So I mentioned Hibiscus. Now this Hibiscus, that flower, you've just missed it unfortunately. They don't last very long at all, certainly in these conditions. I guess they might last longer if it was a bigger plant and if it was in better conditions. I reckon 2 days maximum and that is over. But I've got some more buds coming there and some more buds coming there. This was one of those plants that really did need a lot of feed, and it's taken quite a while for these leaves to stop looking so chlorotic as they were initially. I've put all sorts of things on there. Well, I'm happy to say spider mite free, touch wood. As you'll have heard from my last video, it's been a little bit of a story, but the hotbox is keeping the majority of plants spider mite free, and that is one. So I moved that from the hothouse actually, because it's actually hotter in here than it is in the hothouse, go figure. Which brings me nicely onto the Cyclamen. People are always asking me about Cyclamen and dormancy, and you can see that there's 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 1 over there, 4. These are in various stages. This one has loads of buds on it, loads of new leaves. That one, you can see that one is about to completely go dormant, no signs of growth. The leaves are all yellowing. That one does have new leaves on it. That one is about to go completely dormant. And then over here, underneath the benches, you can see 5 pots here which are totally dormant, no signs of growth, just the tuber there. People expect them to all go like that. They don't, and there's a few reasons for that I can think of, and this is just conjecture, but in terms of dormancy, these are hybrids. They're not they're not species plants. So they are, as lots of plants that are bought for the garden market and the housing market, they are artificially brought to life at various times of the year to sell them, to sell them whenever it's needed. So the dormancy is naturally kind of off kilter. So you will find that plants do funny things, and honestly it's nothing to worry about. For as far as I'm concerned with these plants, that one I can cut it off now, I can completely get rid of that. The other one over there I can completely get rid of all the leaves, they can go back onto the benches. These two I will just keep them like on a slow drip feed, so I will water them but very occasionally. I don't want them to desiccate, and it's the same with the ones in the other pots. I will not allow them to go totally dry for ages because that can kill them. You just want a little bit of moisture. But these two, I'll give them a slightly more moisture. So I'm encouraging them into dormancy. And in actual fact, I've had plants with, not had them like this in bud and in flower, but I've had them like that with very small leaves on right the way through summer, and I've hardly ever watered them, just a little bit. And they've stayed like that right until the time that I need to bring them back to life again, give them more water, give them a brighter position, and then they bloom and everything is fine. So it's really nothing to worry about. It's only, we're really trying to encourage them to do what they do naturally, and if they don't, then just go with it. Now, I don't know if anybody over here likes mint teas. I love a mint tea, so I thought I'd grow some mint. Now, these actually could go outside, but I thought I would mollycoddle them a little bit because I want more and more leaves. So I've got all sorts here. I've got chocolate, I've got strawberry mint, I've got lemon. What else have we got? We've got apple, all sorts of different kinds of mint. Well worth growing a few little plants. Just for the teas, that's the only thing I use them for. I put a few leaves in a little strainer thing, pop it in some hot water, and Bob's your uncle a nice cup of fresh mint tea. If you like the stuff that you can get, like the dried stuff, well, believe me, this is way better. Much stronger taste, much more refreshing. So that's a culinary spot on today's video. So I've mentioned Nepenthes, so we've got our Rebecca Soper over here, and we've got some blooms. Again, nothing spectacular to look at, but the blooms are unusual, aren't they? They're unusual. I'm not really bothered about taking seeds from these things. I find cuttings is an easier way to do it. There are a few pictures under there, they're all kind of hidden. Don't forget over here we've got the Bougainvillea, which I'm sure this year is going to put on a great show, hopefully. It'll be the first time. And then we've got some Mandevilla laxa, which again, actually that can go outside. That is fairly hardy, and I've never had that bloom. I grew those from seed. I'll come back to the Nepenthes in a minute. We've got a Dracula over here, which is actually throwing out some spikes. I don't think it'll bloom. I think what's going to happen, especially in all this heat, and you can even see the damage up here, I think what's going to happen, despite the shading, I think they're all going to blast because it's way too hot. Back to Nepenthes. So this one I think is going to be great when it gets bigger. It's starting to produce some really good pictures. So this is Spectabilis crossed with Platychilla. Anyone seen Platychilla, the species? Very, very decorative Nepenthes pictures with all these little flecks of red on. So that's really nice to see. That one's going over, but you can see that's a new one there. And over here I've got Ventrata. That is just for the first time beginning to grow and do some leaf jumps. You can see that is now growing quite strongly. I'd actually divided this on video. I've got 3 divisions and they're all over in the hothouse, and all of them have taken. Just as a little interlude from the Nepenthes, this Coelogyne cristata again hasn't flowered. I've never managed to get it to flower. You can see it's happy in terms of growth, loads of new growth on it. I think it's just not getting cold enough through winter. It's just not getting that cold temperature that it likes. I only go down to 12. I've heard these go down lower than that, and it might be that triggers the blooms. If that's the case, you know, I can't do that. I might have to get rid of it altogether, which is a shame. Quick look at a fern over here. I've had this one a long time. It did get loads and loads of scale, but we chopped it right back down and it's come back again, and it's doing really well despite the really warm temperatures in here. So let's carry on with the Nepenthes tour. One of my favourite ones here, a Rosea cross. This one doesn't seem to mind any kind of conditions. It's growing really, really well. Very colourful pictures and the classic hourglass shape of Rosea there. And I interrupt this broadcast to tell you that my iPhone just shut down. I'm actually filming with it and it came up with a message saying emergency, iPhone is too hot, and you can reuse it again when the temperatures cool down. That's never happened to me before. So back to the video. So I think I was showing you this before I was rudely interrupted. So this is Nepenthes Burkii, and it's just hooking around the, no it's not, it's Gaia, beg your pardon. It's just hooking around the railing there, as these things tend to. And we've got Burkii over here, loads of pictures on it, looking very, very nice. Light is the main thing with these things. Give them loads of light and they'll love you forever. They don't love, however, being in the sun through glass, because that's what happens. So that's going to have to be cut off. So that's, oh hang on, I've got another one over here. This one is, what's this one? This is quite a new one. This one is Spectabilis, not really got going yet. Not very spectacular, not living up to its name, but it will be. And there's another one in the corner over here. Excuse all the moving about. And this one is Fusca. Had that a number of years. That one seems to be quite happy and coming along really nicely. So I think it's time for Pelargoniums. I have a trailer here. This is a trailing Pelargonium, nothing spectacular, but it's still a nice little plant, as you can see. I like it hanging down there, looking a bit scruffy, but I like that kind of thing. And over here, we've got a number that you've seen before, so I'm not going to name them all. If you want to know the names, you can always ask. Just give me a timestamp though, please, and then I can tell you what they are. This beautiful one over here, look at that one. That is St. Elmo's Fire. That is a Stella. And I've actually bought another Stella, but it's not in bloom yet. This is a new one. This one is in bloom. This is another little angel Pelargonium. That one is, what's that? Cotton Harmony. Really nice little thing. I really like these angel ones and the Stella ones. They seem to be my second favourite next to the Regals. You know I love the Regals. That one is a very popular one. People really love that one on Instagram, on Facebook. If you want to follow me on those social media channels, just have a look at the links in the description. Loads of blooms here. They come and they go. I cut them off and then they come again. That one's ready for cutting off there. Really nice. That is beautiful little thing. Another really nice one over here. The first time I've had 2 blooms on that one. That one is, what is it? I forget. Something glitter. Silver glitter. Pelargonium silver glitter. Beautiful thing there. I've actually up-potted it. That's the first time it's gone into a bigger pot. And in reward, it's given me 2 blooms. Some of the species ones, and that one's just over. You just missed that one. I think you was too early for it last time, and then you missed it this time. Oh, there it is. There's another one. Gorgeous little thing. These are very, very scented as well. That's the really nice scent. See, have a sniff of that. Sniff my fingers. Beautiful. A lot of them are scented, and they're not particularly meant to be. They just have a nice scent. Here's the 2 new ones. Just about to bloom, that one, so you won't be able to see it on this occasion. Just have a sniff of that one. Very nice. That one's not coming to bloom yet. So yeah, they're the species ones. So what else have we got to show you over here? Yeah, we've got the orchid here, Prosthechea radiata. These are taking forever to actually open up. Well, there you go. Now these do give a really nice scent. Prosthechea radiata just coming out there. Nice big buds on it. This one really does do well for me. It's only in bark, nothing else. And it puts loads and loads of, oh, I say nothing else, there's a layer of moss on top. That was just to catch the, you know, the newly emerging roots from the rhizome. Because sometimes, like there, you miss them. They don't go far enough to get to the bark, and they never actually get wet, or they go down the side like that. So that probably needs something doing with it when it's finished. Very, very nice scent on that one. I think it does grow like a weed in some places. I mentioned my Laelia anceps in the past. I had it in a too dark a spot. It's remedied now in a light spot, and we've got a nice new growth on that, but looks like that's going to miss out on blooms this year. A couple of spikes on Oncidium Sherry Baby. That's the first time that's bloomed since the spider mites came. And then it's time, oh, here we go, begonias. I've not talked about begonias for a while. This one was sent to me as a free gift with the Begonia Society of the UK, and you can see that's going to be a huge thing, huge bloom on that one. Not the normal types that I grow, these are tuberous ones, so they do completely die down over winter. And another huge one, Longiciliata, this one, or Size Moriae, is a synonym. This one is a beautiful thing, and it's just getting absolutely massive. I'll see if I can I can't pick it up because it's clinging to things, fortunately, but you can see it's a very, very big plant. Beautiful thing, loads of nice markings, these gorgeous patterns on the underneath of the leaves. Yeah, nice thing, that. I have actually potted up. You might not have seen it done like, I've never seen it done like this before. These are my Dendrobium. Remember those, I did a video not so long back, those beautiful, beautiful blooms of Dendrobium, Densiflorum and Thursiflorum. And Michael, my resident orchid expert, said, if you're going to pot them up, just stick them in a pot. You don't need to unmount them. So I've done that. And actually, that's a really, really good tip, because it's meant that it's very, very solid, because it's already got this massive stake to actually cling to. And I put it in leca for a change. Thought, let's see how leca works with Dendrobiums, and I've done the same there with the Farmeri at the back, because I didn't think that they were actually getting enough water just mounted, because obviously it means me spraying them every day. So I'm going to see how that goes. So, oh, the disaster that is Streptocarpus. Well, we do have a few nice blooms, but nothing like we should have at this time of year, and this is the reason. Can you see? That's probably one of the only ones that I've not actually cut it off. This is just damage from the heat. Too hot, and you can see it all along, and all these at the top are in more sun or get more heat, and you can see what's going on there. Surprisingly, my unifolia, Streptocarpus dunnii, is hardly phased by it. It's still throwing out tons and tons of beautiful blooms. If you're ever thinking about growing one of these species, one of these unifoliate species, please do. You might wait 2 or 3 years before it blooms, but goodness, when it does bloom, it is spectacular. And with that in mind, because obviously that one's going to die when it's finished, I bought another one. And this one, if I can actually, it's got lots of heat damage on it as well. If I can get it through the heat, that one's going to be even bigger. So yeah, we've got a few blooms, but I'm not going to dwell on them. That one doesn't seem to be too bad. So there's a couple of things that's holding these back at the moment. One is the heat, way too hot in here, but I know they'll come back. The second thing is, as I mentioned on a previous video, I simply gave them too much feed too soon, and I never normally do that. The only reason I did it was because it said on the back of Dibley's feeding tub, and I thought, well, they know better than me, because I would have said it's at the expense of blooms and it gives you too much leaf. And I thought, oh, they've really got going this year. They did, but they got going in leaf and not so much in blooms. But they will come back. It's all part of the learning process. So I want to show you these Drosera blooms in particular. So this one is Drosera binata variety multifida. Now you don't normally get more than one bloom on Drosera, but here you tend to get like a little cluster. Those at the bottom there have gone to seed, but compare that with the normal size blooms on Drosera capensis, much smaller. See if I can get them together in one hand here. Obviously I'm filming as well with the other. There you go, you can see the difference. I think they're really cute. I really like the binata variety multifida ones. Somebody mentioned, and I've asked me loads of questions about Cephalotus. So these were the same plant. They were divided, and now they are doing really well. Lots and lots of new pictures on them. Sometimes you can just get leaves for a while before the pictures emerge, but this time, if you remember, I had them covered in moss and the moss was quite thick, and somebody mentioned to me, cut the moss back, they'll grow, and by goodness they have done. They've really grown nicely, all kind of tipping over the side. I like it when they do that. Love it when they tip over the side. So yeah, a couple of Cephalotus follicularis. I might get some hybrids, but you know what, every time I've seen a hybrid, I can't tell the difference. I did ask somebody and he said, well, the M in the middle on the lid, see that M shape? It's slightly different on these others. Well, okay. If you're really into them and you know, you're quite happy to grow something different just because it has a slightly different shaped M on the lid that you don't really see, well, fine, but I'm not so sure it's something I really want. That's an old picture, it's kind of red. That one, possibly pull that one out. I know it's hanging on there. So one good thing, another good thing about the hot box, I should say, that this Dendrobium cuthbertsonii hybrid has really come back full force. Loads of blooms on it, some more buds coming on it. It obviously had spider mite and it doesn't anymore. Okay, so as you can see, I am glowing, not perspiring, glowing. And I think that's about it before my phone finally melts into a puddle on the floor and I follow it swiftly on. So if you enjoyed that, hit me up in the comments with any questions or anything about the video at all, or even just telling me your own experiences. Love to hear from people. And for now, oh, did say, didn't I, about the hothouse? I'll save it for another one. Well, you watched the video. What more can you want? I'll see you on the next one. Bye.